In the meadow lived a particularly interesting family called the Field family, who were Irish. Many Irish at the time did hard labor in the US, and they lived in a terrible, drafty shack. One day, when it suddenly started raining, Thoreau decided to go to John Field's house to take shelter. He said that an honest, hard-working, but shiftless man plainly was John Field and his wife. She too was brave to cook so many successive dinners in the recesses of that lofty stove, with round, greasy face and bare breast. Still thinking to improve her condition one day, with the never-absent mop in one hand, and yet no effects of it visible anywhere, the chickens, which had also taken shelter here from the rain, stalked about the room like members of the family, too humanized, thought, to roast well. They stood and looked in my eye or pecked at my shoes significantly. John Field took a job clearing the swamp at Baker Farm for a very low price, $10 an acre, plus a year's free use of the land and its fertilizer. I, who came a-fishing here, looked like a loafer. I lived in a tight, light and clean house, which hardly cost more than the annual rent of such a ruin as he commonly amounts to, and how, if he chose, he might in a month or two build himself a palace of his own, that I did not use tea, nor coffee, nor butter, nor milk, nor fresh meat, and so did not have to work to get them. Again, as I did not work hard, I did not have to eat hard, and it cost me but a trifle for my food. But as he began with tea and coffee and butter and milk and beef, he had to work hard to pay for them, and when he had worked hard, he had to eat hard again to repair the waste of his system, and so it was as broad as it was long. Indeed, it was broader than it was long, for he was discontented and wasted his life into the bargain, and yet he had rated it as a gain in coming to America, that here you could get tea and coffee and meat every day. For I purposely talked to him as if he were a philosopher or desired to be one. This is where Thoreau was talking to the laborer about different attitudes toward life. He says, "Why work so hard? You could live like me without needing so many high-calorie foods and still have a good life and maybe even build a house." I told him that as he worked so hard at bogging, he required thick boots and stout clothing, which yet was soon soiled and worn out, but I wore light shoes and thin clothing, which cost not half so much, though he might think that I was dressed like a gentleman, and in an hour or two, without labor, but as recreation, I could, if I wished, catch as many fish as I should want for 2 days, or earn enough money to support me a week. If he and his family would live simply, they might all go a-huckleberrying in the summer for their amusement. Picking berries on the mountain is such a delightful thing to do. I see this as a kind of mutual compassion. Others might think, "Oh, Thoreau, living so simply and with nothing." But Thoreau also feels sorry for people like John Field. He saw their hard work, their need for boots and clothes, and their consumption of high-calorie foods as a waste of time, money, and energy. He thought picking berries or fishing was a much better way to live. So Thoreau was trying to pass on his philosophy to John Field, but it was clear that John and his wife didn't really get it. Thoreau believed one could find a different path in life instead of just following the same old ways. This is what he was trying to communicate through his interactions. In the chapter called Higher Laws, when he was coming home from John Field's place, and it was already dark, he caught a glimpse of a woodchuck stealing across his path, and felt a strange thrill of savage delight, and was strongly tempted to seize and devour him raw. Though he had never done that, he felt this primal impulse. He explained that I found in myself, and still find, an instinct toward a higher, or, as it is named, spiritual life, as do most men, and another toward a primitive, rank and savage one, and I reverence them both. I love the wild, not less than the good. The wildness and adventure that are in fishing still recommended it to me. I like sometimes to take rank hold of life and spend my day more as the animals do. For example, living like a raccoon or a fox might be one way of life, but living like Emerson, a person who seeks philosophy and spiritual depth, is another way. These two extremes pull at the poet. I have found repeatedly in recent years that I cannot fish without falling a little in self-respect. I have tried it again and again. I have skill at it, and like many of my fellows, a certain instinct for it, which revives from time to time, but always when I have done, I feel that it would have been better if I had not fished. There is unquestionably this instinct in me that belongs to the lower orders of creation. Yet with every year I am less a fisherman, though without more humanity or even wisdom. At present, I am no fisherman at all. Between humanity and divinity, Thoreau chose the divine. It is hard to provide and cook so simple and clean a diet as will not offend the imagination, but this, I think, is to be fed when we feed the body. They should both sit down at the same table. Yet perhaps this may be done. The fruits eaten temperately need not make us ashamed of our appetites, nor interrupt the worthiest pursuits. But put an extra condiment into your dish, and it will poison you. It is not worth the while to live by rich cookery. Thoreau didn't want us to eat too well, or to seek out richer tastes. Yet for my part, I was never unusually squeamish. I could sometimes eat a fried rat with a good relish if it were necessary. The note says Thoreau wasn't actually eating fried rats, but a muskrat, an animal that lived under his cabin. He had eaten one before. I am glad to have drunk water for so long. I prefer the natural sky to an opium eater's heaven. Back in England, some folks were really into smoking opium, for the same reason that I would fain keep sober always, and there are infinite degrees of drunkenness. I believe that water is the only drink for a wise man. Wine is not so noble a liquor, and think of dashing the hopes of a morning with a cup of warm coffee, or of an evening with a dish of tea. Ah, how low I fall when I am tempted by them. Even music may be intoxicating. Such apparently slight causes destroyed Greece and Rome, and will destroy England and America. Thoreau said that the decline of Greece and Rome was due to their luxurious lifestyles, which was why he believed such indulgences could bring down entire civilizations. Not that food which entereth into the mouth defileth a man, but the appetite with which it is eaten. This line is a real eye-opener for me. It makes me reflect on whether we're too greedy in our appetites. Thoreau's saying that it's this very hunger that can corrupt us. We are conscious of an animal in us, which awakens in proportion as our higher nature slumbers. That in which men differ from brute beasts, says Mencius, is a thing very inconsiderable. The common herd loses it very soon. Superior men preserve it carefully. Mencius means that the difference between humans and animals is quite small, and the noble person is the one who values this small difference. Perhaps there is none but has cause for shame on account of the inferior. And brutish nature, to which he is allied. Every man is the builder of a temple, called his body, to the God he worships, after a style purely his own, nor can he get off by hammering marble instead. This means that the food we eat shapes our bodies, which is like a temple we build for ourselves, and you can't escape from it. What Thoreau envisions is adopting a new, harsh and simple way of life to refine his thoughts, saving his body, and making himself more worthy of respect.